to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. Today, man, we have a true honor. We have the one and only Bonnie-Jill Laflin. She is a trailblazing sports broadcaster, TV personality, author, philanthropist. She is the first and only female NBA scout. She has a new book that you need to get right now. It's In the League of Their Own, celebrating female first in sports. I have to let you in right now because I can talk another 10 minutes on your resume. First and foremost, good morning, Bonnie. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, I appreciate your time. This is an amazing book. I had the honors to have a sneak peek at it. Kind of give us a short core message that you hope women who pick up this book can gain from it.
Yeah, the biggest, my why, I should say rather, was to make sure that there was women knew, the younger generation, women now, just to know that there's a space for them in sports. And whether that's being an athlete, being on the field, on the court, on the ice, or is it, in the front office? Is it being a ref? Is it umpire? Doesn't matter what it is, there's a space for you. Me being the first female scout in the NBA, there wasn't really anyone for me to look up to. And now I want this book to be where women can look and say, wow, there's a space for me. And that may be so many different facets of that in the sports world.
Given the current landscape of sports and society, what do you believe is very crucial to have the opportunity to highlight these achievements in women's sports now?
Yeah, I mean, we're making really big strides, but at the same time, I feel like there's so much more we can do, still being accepted. When women are in sports, we have to work, much harder. We're under a microscope. We're so much more scrutiny. There's a recent sports broadcaster that said something about not prepping and not talking to the coaches, and that set us so far back. So it's like we still need to be able to make these strides, but we still have to be credible. And that's a big reason why sometimes men in the sports world or fans will say, oh, well, they shouldn't be involved in sports because of a setback like that. So we still have big strides to make, and I think we're getting there. But at one point, I want it to be where it's not just someone filling a quota because they're a female, but because people realize that they're talented and they need to be there because they're the best person for that job.
There was a part in the book where there is a section with you and Kobe Bryant. I thought that was so cool. What was some of the things that you learned from him, and can you share that with us?
Yeah, Kobe was a really good friend of mine, being with the Lakers for 13 years. He was a mentor to me, and he was very special in regards to how he viewed women in sports, being a girl dad and before his time, because he would say to me, like himself, to play with a chip on his shoulder. It's like when I did a piece with the Boston Globe, one of the journalists there did a really bad hit piece on me, and I didn't want to read the article, and he ended up reading it, and he was like, you know what, this is good, because I ended up reading it, and I was crying, and he was like, this is good. He goes, you want to have the naysayers, you want to have the haters, you want to have the doubters. He's like, because that is what will fuel you. You'll have that fire, and that's how he was on the court. So he said, this will make you'll never be complacent. You'll always be wanting to be a step ahead, and you'll work much harder because you can say at the end of the day, I proved you wrong, and I kind of feel like I'm like that today.
Being the first female NBA scout, could you elaborate on some of the pressures that you had to face in such a male-dominated industry?
Yeah, there were a lot of pressures from everything being the only female. So I was always trying to mesh and be with, one of the boys. And so I would throw my hair up in a ball cap and wear sweats and try to walk and talk like the boys because I wanted to be accepted. And at that point, I feel like I wasn't really comfortable in my own skin because I didn't want to be myself. I wanted to just talk basketball and, talk about the triangle offense and not talk about who I was. And I wasn't comfortable. And then B. Shaw, one of our coaches at the time who was scouting with me, he said, you know what, you need to still be you. Be comfortable in who you are. People will realize that you know basketball and all that will come, but you need to be really comfortable in your own skin because right now you're trying to be someone else. And that was really good advice because I wasn't comfortable and it was tough because I was the only female. So I learned a lot during those times, but there was a lot of pressure just because of, what I look like, or because, my path wasn't conventional. I had come from being a cheerleader, from being a sports broadcaster, an actress, all these different things that didn't have the, specific mold that some of the other scouts had come from. So it was really tough for me to try to gain my way. So I was kind of treading water, but took a while, but then I was able to find my place and settle in.
We're talking to the one and only Bonnie-Jill Laflin in her book that you need to get right now, In a League of Their Own, Celebrating Female First in Sports. Tomorrow is International Women's Day. How important is it for all of us? I mean, I hope it goes viral and everybody just takes the time to recognize women tomorrow. How important is it for us to start recognize what y'all contribute, not just in sports, but just in business and life in general?
Yes, it's important. Right now we're in Women's History Month and International Women's Day, but I want people to realize, like what I said before, that women have a space in sports. Women have a space in male-dominated fields, and you need to look beyond just their gender. You need to look at what they bring to the table and their talent, and to celebrate women, but to also realize that they deserve to be there. And we're not back in the 1950s. Women aren't just supposed to be in the house and cooking and cleaning. That they're there to and making a difference and actually being able to be leaders and directors of so many different fields. Like I said, not just sports. And I think it's important, and we are making strides. And it's nice to have these days and these months that celebrate women. But I think it should be like that every day, where we realize women deserve and belong.
You have an amazing nonprofit. It's Hounds, Heroes, and Horses. Tell us a little bit about this amazing platform that you have.
Yes, it's a charity that I started in 2010, and I wanted to be able to give back to our wounded warriors that came back from deployments. I did a lot of USO tours coming from military families, so I wanted a place for men and women when they come back, if they needed a service dog or a therapy dog, that we would provide that. And we rescue dogs that otherwise would be euthanized, train them, and then have them as service with therapy dogs with men and women from the military who are dealing with PTS, TBI, amputees. The suicide rate is so high among our veterans. So I wanted a place for that, as well as equine therapy, where we rescue horses, and we have equine therapy retreats, not only for first responders and wounded warriors from our military, but also fallen soldiers, so children who have had mothers or fathers that have been fallen from the war or any type of deployment or in service, and then also disabled children. So for me, it's really important to have a platform where, I love my career, but it's also very important to always give back, and that's the way that I do that. And we also focus a lot on homeless veterans as well in Texas, California, and all over.
Once again, we're talking to Bonnie-Jill Laflin. Get her book today, In a League of Their Own, Celebrating Female First in Sports. Real quick, this person here in San Antonio don't even know I'm doing this, but I want to plug a female woman in sports, Caroline Tagg, aka CT, the Mike Slayer. She does amazing things with her work, and she is moving and being inspired with people like yourself. What would you say to the younger generation of women who are trying to make the way, not just in sports, but maybe as a media personality?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to be very versatile. Like let's just say just media, like I know how to not only on-air talent, but also being able to shoot, to produce, to edit, to write. So you always have to have very multifaceted skill sets, because you need to be able to take on any job. Even like when I give advice to women who are just trying to break into sports, like take any job, get into any network, organization, team. It may not be the role you want to be. Maybe it's working for organization, you're in sales, but you're gonna move around and you'll be able to meet people. And networking is so important in our industry. So the biggest thing is being able to pivot, because you have so many different layers of responsibilities and duties that you can do, and you're not just one-dimensional.
Speaking of responsibilities, Title IX legislation, it leveled the playing field for women and girls. What do you hope can be the core foundation moving forward, how we can continue to help the progress of women in sports and media?
I think it's, just getting women in those positions. You're seeing women, not just on the sidelines, but now calling games like a Doris Burke for the NBA and women up in the booth, just not so long ago, women weren't even allowed in a press box, so just being able to have those different roles. And then on the field, and on the court, like eventually I do see like a Becky Hammond being a coach in the NBA, having Popovich being able to give her that, Pop of all people, being able to say, I trust you, and the players trust you. And of course, she went over to Vegas Aces and, really thriving there. But I think she's someone that I would see end up being an NBA head coach. But, just not in media and just all over, I think, just giving roles to these different women and seeing that they actually will thrive and succeed I think we're starting to see that right now.
We're talking to Bonnie-Jill Laflin. Get her book right now, In a League of Their Own, Celebrating Females First in Sports. I'm still pinching myself. I want to say thank you for your time today, and you have a great one.
So much. Have a good morning.